Are good English speaking skills required for public speaking? The short answer is no. But the slightly longer answer is that it depends, but not in the way that you might think. Now, of course, if your English is at a point where it's missing out on basic grammar and basic vocabulary, that's where things can get a little tricky. But for most of us, we have a rudimentary understanding of this language, and we can communicate in English. We can get our points across, and the other person does understand what we're saying. It's just that it's not as fluent or as perfect as we would like it to be. If you're in this boat, the correlation between English and public speaking all comes down to psychology. We made an entire video around why psychology is more important than English, which is linked in the description below. But the gist of it is that most people suffer from bad English, not because they are not aware of what words to use or they don't know what to communicate, but it's that they have the content in their mind, but there's some block that's resisting your content to move from your mind to your speech. And that's mainly because of mental confidence. Take this scenario, for example. If you're somebody who has a basic understanding of English and knows how to have a conversation with somebody, but let's say we mess up certain tenses. We use a the when it's not really required. Or we might forget what a certain word might mean in English as opposed to our native language. In that case, a lot of us might feel a little inferior to the person we're speaking to, especially if that person is very well spoken in the language that we aspire to learn. That in turn affects our confidence and makes us feel like we're not too good in this language. And we get more and more nervous to speak this language out because we're so afraid of making a mistake. And that's where the problem is. But we need to understand public speaking is not about English. It's not about any language. Public speaking is about expressing. It's about communications. And the very first thing we need to understand is that as long as we can get our points across and our main message across clearly, we're good. We don't need to worry if we make a grammar mistake or if we forget a line or if our vocabulary is not at the point where we want it to be. The problem is that we've made public speaking a new game. We're always worried about what people might think of us when we go on stage. What if they make fun of me? What if I mess up my grammar? What if my vocabulary is not good enough? When in reality, communications is all about the audience. It's rarely ever about the speaker. And as long as we can look at it from their perspective and we are being able to express our points clearly to them, we don't need to worry about being very, very fluent in English. And this switch in mindset is what has enabled a lot of our students to actually become more confident when they speak, even if their English is not perfect. And this has been proven time and time again by speakers who are not necessarily very fluent in this language, but they can still create an impact through their public speaking to thousands of people simply by understanding communications, not language. Now, that's all well and good. It's all a mindset game. But how do you really apply this and practice it on a practical level? This comes down to a simple 3-step process. If you have a speech presentation to give, once your draft is ready, by the way, if you need some help preparing your speech structure, we've written an entire article on that, linked in the description. Anyways, the first thing that we need to do is when we practice this, we need to video record ourselves. This helps us do 2 things. Firstly, when we video record ourselves and we watch that video, it helps us self-evaluate very, very critically. In most cases, a lot of your errors on delivery, body language, and English can get solved by simply looking at our video recording. And secondly, it helps us increase our confidence because if we are not used to recording ourselves, speaking to a camera can be a little challenging. And especially because of step 2, which is we have to send this recording to somebody else. And this person can be anybody. Ideally, it can be somebody whose speaking skills you look up to, but regardless of that, whether it's your friend or family member, just send them that video recording and ask them one simple question. After you watch the entire video, what is the main takeaway you're getting from my whole speech? And if they can answer that question correctly, if what you've intended to communicate to the audience has been communicated, we've done 80% of our job. And finally, it comes down to taking in feedback and reworking, re-recording and re-evaluating yourself to become better and better. So we don't need to worry too much about English as long as we have a basic understanding of it. And if you're one of those people who's watching a lot of movies and TV shows and trying to learn English from there to improve your public speaking, don't do that. We've made an entire video on why that's not really effective and what you can do instead that will actually help you improve your English. Check it out right here.